Today, we're delighted to have the sassy James Smith on our podcast. In this episode, we want to welcome you, James.
Thank you very much for having me.
Normally, at this stage of the podcast, I always ask the guests to introduce themselves. But I thought just to mix it up, that maybe I could introduce you.
Perfect.
And you can come in whenever you want. And we lead up to kind of the creation of the James Smith Academy. So, James, you were an overweight kid who was bullied in school, had a suspected learning disability, which could have been the learning disability or the 10 to 15 sherbet sticks you like to enjoy before 9 a.m. Each morning, which I'm sure the teachers enjoyed as well. At 14, you discovered rugby. You could channel your energy into rugby, which I'm sure everyone was delighted. You finished school and went and got a coaching qualification. And then you got into uni, which was a rugby based university. You enjoyed that quite a bit, as we all do university. Good social life. And you finished up and you decided to pursue your career as a door-to-door salesman. It was either this or go on the dole. Because you live in a house with electric gates, that wasn't really an option. The turning point for you was when you went to New Zealand and you went and played professional rugby, which was pretty cool. And there you finally got introduced to structured training, which is quite amazing that you didn't have experience of that up until then. And then you decided to do a bit of traveling. You were in serious shape, but all the traveling, pretty good lifestyle, you got a bit fat again, which I think all of us that travel, it happens to us all. Then you came back to the UK, every cloud is a silver lining, and you transformed yourself on social media from fat to fit. And then you did your PT qualifications, and I suppose everything changed from there. You worked your ass off. You made quite a bit of money. Your parents helped quite a bit making you food, and your mum even made your bed during the day for your daytime naps. Pretty nice mum. After that, you had we'll keep this PG, you had a little bit of a vision in Croatia at a festival, decided you were going to up sticks and off to Oz. So you headed over to Oz, blew all your well-earned cash, and ended up on your friend's sofa in Sydney. You got your dad wanted you home for Christmas. He got you a flight home, which you weren't very happy with. Don't know if you weren't very happy with the flight or the fact that he only paid for an economy flight.
Oh, back then it was all I knew.
We still only know that, James, the majority of us. You got home and you had no cash, but you did have your nice golf to sell. Bearing in mind the majority of us that get home from Sydney have a big bank loan, and we also probably have a couple of stone to lose. However, you went back to Oz, and I suppose that's when it changed. You got a job as a PT, and you met your main man, Darren. You had relatively no friends because none of the PTs would talk to you, so you decided to talk to Instagram, and that's where everything has changed. So that's kind of where the James Smith Academy has been born from.
I feel like you've had a private detective following me through my entire life.
I just listened to your podcasts.
That's, it's a very accurate description. When I was younger, massively just didn't have a clue. Never understood anything, even as a kid in school. I remember asking the dinner ladies what was fattening, and they couldn't give me a decisive answer. I remember one period where my mum only let me eat carrots when I came home from school. I lost so much weight, and then I still couldn't figure it out. I wasn't sure if carrots were good. Or, nothing.
I know.
My parents still couldn't tell me what a carbohydrate is.
But you know the interesting thing? You were actually probably ahead of the curve that you were asking that question back when you were younger. Like, we just, when I was young, I just thought food made you fat.
I didn't really have any idea as to, I wasn't playing that much sport when I was younger. I was exercising a lot. I, chased kids around the playground, getting in fights, climbing trees, pushing people out of trees, running away from teachers.
Why am I not surprised?
And then it was only really when everything was just towards rugby performance. So got into rugby at 14, 15. And because I was so late to the sport, my friends in my year had been playing for 8-9 years and I was just getting into it. And I kind of miss the days where everything was about sport performance. So as a rugby player, I think there's more allowance in kind of social mainstream to everything boils down to your performance. if you're a front row forward with a pot belly, but you get around the park and make your tackles, you're a hero. Whereas when you look into the fitness world, that's just not acceptable. Or it doesn't matter if you can squat 3 times your body weight, mate, you're not conforming to our societal norms. Then I think Facebook started coming about at that point. And again, I still miss those days where it wasn't quite so much about how we looked. University was just me avoiding work. It was like, I don't want to go to work. My friends go to work and they're miserable. They work in shops or whatever. And although I went to university, I didn't qualify with anything. I did a BTEC. So for anyone listening, I pretty much just had to turn up to college, do coaching modules, and they're like, right, James, today you're going to make sure that 6 participants can have a volleyball match. And that was like, I got assessed on that. Merit. I was like, all I did was set up a volleyball match. It's like not a real qualification. So when I went to Hartbury College, which is proper university, they were like, you're going to have to reference. I was like, excuse me? I've just been copy pasting stuff for coursework. And I actually went to university where I had to reference. I was like, I don't understand this. They were like, you're going to have to attend a stats and research course. I was like, no. You're mistaken. I'm on a sports course. They were like, no, you've got to do this. I was like, I'm not doing it. And they put it on a Thursday morning when the biggest night out was a Wednesday night. So there's no chance I was going to be going to that. I think I went to one of them. I was like, I'd rather pay the tuition fees. After uni again, avoiding work, pursued rugby a lot. The door-to-door salesman thing was pretty shit. And although my parents have always supported me, they've never supported me financially for anything. So everything that I bought's been myself. And people, when they do see I'm from a house that has electric gates or whatever, I think that I'm massively grateful for that there because it's allowed me to be more audacious, but not that I've been supported financially. And funny enough, when Duran came around my house, he looked at me and he went, fair play. I went, what? He goes, if I was inheriting all this, I wouldn't get out of bed half as early as you do. So, no, it's one of those things. And I think that the support that I mainly had from my parents was more kind of psychological. It was more about protecting my energy. I think my mum and dad knew that I wanted to be a successful PT. So, cooking more food in the evening, my mum, like I was a zombie for like 3 years of my life because I was trying to PT 10 hours a day. I remember doing 14 1-hour sessions in a day once. 14. I think I got in at 5:36 and I left about 9:10 p.m. I came home, my dad was like, how's your day? I was like, I don't want to talk to you. I was like, I'm really not wanting to be not polite to your dad, but I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I was like, I've got to get up in another 5 hours and do it all over again. So from that standpoint, they were patient. They were like, all right, son, there's some chicken breasts in the fridge. So it was more like that.
Perfect. They probably also knew that you had the potential to be a great PT or to be able to change people's lives, because that's exactly what you're doing at the moment.
I think they were more so happy that I'd found something that I could channel my energy into. So I had a lot of energy as a kid, but it never went in the right places. And I think I said in one of the podcasts that my teachers proactively got me to listen to music in class. So I went from the spectrum of so disruptive that instead of telling people to not listen, they were like, we're going to have to get James to listen to music so that I'd actually concentrate on my work. And if anyone's ever seen me working in a cafe, I have to listen to music. I don't know what that is, whether it's a distraction thing or not. And then my passion and energy went into misbehaving for a long time. I got in trouble with the police when I was very young. So having to get read my rights in front of my mum when I was 13, there were all these things that like my parents were like, oh my God, what's our son going to do? So even at the time of 23, 24, I was working in a budget gym in a business park in Bracknell, which isn't the sexiest of, jobs or job titles. But I think they were just so happy that I had somewhere to channel my energy. Whereas, 10 years before, they were like, is our kid going to end up in jail? Am I going to go to young offenders? Am I going to, do something stupid or, add to the pregnancy rate in Bracknell or something? So I think that they didn't ever really see it could have grown to the size it is now. I think they were just very happy. My dad's ambitions for me were to be a builder. He was like, I want you to work for yourself and I want you to be occupied every day. Because I had such issues with doing one task at a time, he was like, you'd be great on a building site. So rewind 10 years, my parents were like, hopefully he'll be a builder or a good labourer. And now I'm coming home and just being like, it's very confusing for them because they don't have social media.
Yeah, but I suppose they do understand like how big you are. And I suppose how the James Smith Academy has grown so much and how it is really probably the go-to place for the majority of people who are interested in transforming their lives and who have found it hard up to now to actually understand what's right, what's wrong. How do the majority of people just want to lose weight and they want to maintain weight. And up to now, a lot of the stuff has been so sciencey that people just switch off, or there's been no science and it's just been fad after fad after fad. So they do understand that you're changing the landscape.
Yeah, I think for myself as well, getting into being a personal trainer, and I don't want to attack the standard. Well, actually, I'll probably do a little bit. The qualifications and standards of becoming a personal trainer are an absolute joke. For the amount that people are investing to, £3,000, you compare that to other online courses, I was left very much in the dark. It got to the point at the end of my course where I did a 6-week course. At the end of it, I was like, am I done? I was like, I don't know anything I need to. And fair enough, you wouldn't expect them to teach you to run a business, or you wouldn't teach them how to, successfully prospect or to run an email marketing campaign. I wouldn't expect that from PT qualification. But rewind to my first month or 6 months on the floor. If you had said, James, elevator pitch, 1 minute, how do I lose fat? I don't think I could have done it in a minute. And I don't think I would have agreed with what would have come out of my mouth now. And I think that's where a kind of chip on my shoulder developed with a lot of this. I can often seem angry, and I'm not angry with people asking the questions. I'm angry with the fact they have to. Because if I do a live video where some people go, oh my God, can I swear on here, by the way? Try not to. We're going to bleep it out.
We're going to, we're going to try.
I can hold it in.
I was going to ask you, because I was like, is this like asking someone, who's an alcoholic not to drink?
No.
It's like,
No, so people are like, oh, I can't believe people are asking such bloody stupid questions. I have to tone it down for my parents anyway. So, but I'm saying to them, I'm not angry with the person asking the stupid question. I'm angry with the fact that I don't know anyone that's not had a PT before. Everyone's pretty much had a PT at some point in their life. Yet I'm left with hundreds of people that are asking me very basic questions. I'm like, what were you doing with that person? It's like, imagine your best friend's like, oh my God, my 4th driving instructor is so good. You'd be like, what did the other 3 do? They're not cheap. Why did they not teach you? You employed them for one thing. So there's a massive chip on my shoulder with that. Not only have I experienced it myself, but I have to experience it every single day. And that's why I think that it's almost like a bit of a crusade to spread the message, because I've been that frustrated person. And I have to experience those frustrated people all the time.
I know, but in all credit to you, you have done the hard work. I mean, everyone just, I suppose, sees you now having the bants on your podcast or on social, and they don't see all of the hard work that you have put in. There's a lot of PTs who come out of their 6 months qualification or their 6-week qualification, and they think they can immediately have a successful online business. What advice do you give to them?
So I never intended to go online. I think that people always assume that. I actually said no to my first ever client. I didn't want him. He was like, James, you're going to train me. I was like, cool. Where are you living? He's like, I'm in Dubai. I was like, it's a long way to go for a consult, mate. He was like, no, you can train me online. I was like, no, I'm not. I can't be fucked with. Can't be bothered with that. I was like, I want to do it. I want to go to the gym. I want to do my hours. And there are actually so many parts of my life that I do miss from being on the floor. I miss the personal connections I had with my clients. I miss the fact that I could leave work when I walked out the doors. I miss the fact that there was a lot less stress, a lot less worrying, a lot less moving parts. And being on the floor is an actual really enjoyable part of your life where you can have a normal life, because when you go online, you can't. You've got people that want your attention all the time, and there's definitely pros and cons, which a lot of people aren't weighing up. But more importantly, I made all the mistakes I needed to on the floor. And you can't progress without making mistakes. Again, driving analogy, someone can't say, I'm going to learn how to drive. I'm never going to stall. I'm never going to get my indicators mixed up, and I'm never going to not look at a mirror. As time goes on between your first lesson and the last, you just make the mistakes less frequently. And for some reason, I think that kind of clarity or that basic common sense is overlooked with people when they want to go online. And you're like, no, mate, you're not going out on the road yet. And people can do it because, unfortunately, a lot of gravitas is assigned to someone's physique. So you can look good in a set of leggings and do a few swipe workouts, and you build your following to the point that you're almost going to pressure Instagram into giving you a blue tick, and then you do a few things here and there in an event with a certain clothing brand, and suddenly you're an expert. But it's not really that bad in the online coaching world, because quite frankly, I just don't think they'll be successful if they're not that good. But yeah, going online is a process for someone who's kind of maximized their on-the-floor capabilities. I think it's a maturing process, not an aspiration.
And you talk a lot about work-life balance. And obviously that was one of the reasons that online coaching appealed to you was that you have a little bit more of a work-life balance?
Absolutely not. When I went traveling to Australia after the epiphany, I wanted to earn money while I was traveling. Something probably Tim Ferriss had drilled into me. I read the 4-Hour Work Week and I was gone about 5 weeks later. That was it. I even put something in my marketing email today. There's a quote that he says where someday is a disease that, you know, when people say, I'll do it someday, they never get around to it. They were like, the stars are never going to align. Things are never going to be perfect. There is no such thing as good timing in life. So I was like, I'm off to Australia. I was like, what? My client's like, you stupid. At the time, I was running a very profitable PT business in the UK. I was the highest paid PT. I wasn't doing the most hours because I was getting paid so well. I didn't work after 2, 3 p.m. I napped every day. I secretly did CrossFit. Don't tell anyone about that. And I loved it because I worked with people so much of the day. It was nice to turn up to a CrossFit box and not have to think about what I was doing. I was playing rugby, semi-pro at the time. Everything was good. I had my golf, which was the love of my life, my little golf GTI. And even now, if or when I do settle down, even though lots happened in the last 3-4 years, I will still buy just a golf GTI. I've driven nicer cars and I just think they're overkill. Like you worry about...
There's nothing like a Golf.
Yes.
I learned to drive in a Golf.
They're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And if someone dings your car door, you're like, it's right. There's plenty of golf parts kicking about. If you were to have like a Ferrari or a Mustang or something, it'd be too much stress.
Yeah, never break down.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So did it all just happen organically then? Or was it a plan in your head? Because when I think about, when I look at your journey, to me, it looks like it was, some things happen naturally, but ultimately you kind of got a feel for Instagram when you were doing your Instagram lives in Oz, and then you had this big light bulb moment.
So when I left the UK, I just wanted to earn money while I was traveling so that I wouldn't eat into my pot of money. I only went traveling about $2,000. I didn't have a lot, maybe £3,000, which isn't a lot considering what my business was making, but I was spanking it every weekend. In the Sevens circuit the year before, I think I played Sevens in about 19 different countries in a year. So every weekend I was in Copenhagen, Denmark, Iceland, Dubai, and it was cool. I wasn't that great at Sevens. I was just very good on the socials.
But that's what Sevens is.
Yeah, exactly.
Social scene.
Yeah, so it was good, and it's kind of funny. I would only be recognised on the Sevens circuit for the lad who was getting pissed and getting people in headlocks and dragging them on the dance floor or something. Then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, you're a fitness guy." It's a bit of a 360. And I thought to myself, I was 27, so exactly 3 years ago. On today, I flew to Australia, so it's all happened in 3 years. I had about 1,200 followers when I left, and I was Facebook mainly. I didn't get Instagram till for a few months, looking at the 3-year-ago timeline. And I was buzzing. I had more followers than my rugby club. I was like, my rugby club's a full building. They're in National 2 rugby. I was like, I've got more followers than them. And when I went, I thought, the more clients I can have, the more money I can earn. The more money I can earn, I can stay in smaller dorms. So I was like, sharing a room with 4 people is better than 14. That was my main concern traveling the East Coast. It'd be nice to stay at a nice place. And even when I hit Brisbane, I was like, I'm going to get a room to myself. And that was like a big thing for me 3 years ago.
Luxury.
Yeah, I've got my own fan, everything. Still got to share showers, but still. So at that time, it was just doing that until I could find out where I wanted to set up camp. And one of my first ever discussions with Duran was when I went to Fitness First in Sydney. He was like, you've got, I think at this point I had like 3,000 followers. And I was always on my Facebook and I was doing these live videos. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I've got online clients. And he was like, how much do you earn? I was like, about £1,000 a week. And he came up to me, he was like, you dumb. I was like, excuse me? He was like, you dumb. He was like, why are you here? He was like, all of us on the gym floor would want to work online, and you're working online, want to work on the gym floor. He was like, you're stupid. And at the time, I missed being a face-to-face trainer so much. I really just wanted to get set up. I would have rather have earned that money being a face-to-face PT, go in, do my hours, leave, bunch my clients together, have breakfast, have a routine, come home, sleep, train, whatever. And then when I started doing the face-to-face, it wasn't as glorious or as good or the environment I wanted to be in. There were a few factors. One, the PTs hated me at the gym. I thought it was a good idea to start posting my content and tagging it in that gym before I joined, which meant 32 PTs were chatting shit about me before I started. 2, there was no natural light. I didn't realise how much I missed that from a working environment. 3, I got on with other PTs in my old gym. And when I walk into the PT room in Fitness First, it would go quiet. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. So even when I was out on the floor trying to walk the floor and build clients, you'd usually come into the PT room and kind of like have a bit of banter. I'd get in there and it'd go quiet. And I was like, I don't even feel like I'm welcome here. So the whole online thing was more so I was tied into a 1-year contract at Fitness First. It was best part of 250 quid a week. So I couldn't go to another gym or I'd be paying £500 a week minimum, another 12-month contract to start in another gym. So I didn't really have a choice apart from going online. So then everything was organic. I bought a tripod, some whiteboard markers, and a static whiteboard. So the first videos that took me from 5,000 followers to 50,000 followers was all an iPhone and a stick-on whiteboard. So I was on, and if you've seen my setup, it was a tripod on a ping pong table in my front room. And my housemates are like, put your camera away. They're like, stop leaving a mess. So everything was there. I thought of a topic every day, something I've spoken to with a client. The majority of my topics I made up. I'd go, so someone's asked me this. No one asked me anything. On my Q&As, I go, here's the 5 top questions. I was like, no, I made them up. And then, yeah, when I got to 50,000, I was like, oh, best get a proper camera. Didn't know how to edit. It didn't work on my laptop. I was like, oh, God, I'm going to have to get a laptop. And, yeah, I didn't introduce a paid advert until probably a year and a half ago, till the academy was fully established. So everything was organic. And Facebook has been the primary driver of all of my business. And even now, 75% of my sales come through Facebook.
Oh, that's really interesting. I've heard you say Facebook's dead.
No. I quote people that say Facebook's dead. Because rewind a year and a half, there was a big algorithm shift where Facebook was full of memes. It was full of stupid videos, compilations, and it became a very crowded kind of marketplace for just content that would distract you. And I met with Facebook 2 days ago, actually, and they were talking about their user experience they wanted to clean up. So then Facebook became more of a family, friends platform. See your auntie, don't forget it's someone's birthday. Instagram's not going to tell you when it's someone's birthday, and they're not going to bring up wedding pics from your distant relative. So all brands got shafted overnight, and that's why I went to Instagram. And although my growth on Instagram was faster, my engagement was higher, my double taps were higher, my shares were higher, the virality aspect of it is higher. Still, Google Analytics showed that the best buyers come through Facebook. So imagine one of the best things is that if you look at me right now, I do not always from a glance point encapsulate fitness. I'm not overly bothered with how lean I am. I'm not overly bothered about peak condition, all of these things. I'm more bothered about the outcome of how good my life is. And with my social media, I've never been too bothered about the numbers or the figures. I've only ever been bothered with the sales. So if I was to put those into 2 tangents, I was like, oh, why am I using Facebook? I'm going to throw Sean Stafford under the bus here. He has over 1 million followers on Facebook and doesn't use it because he was concerned about the amount of likes he got. So when the algorithm changed, he goes, oh, I don't get any likes on there anymore.
You'd have to give him a few business lessons, James.
I did, but, he was too busy killing me in a weight training session.
Oh, that's what's important to him.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Next time you're together, we'll do a few little competitions. Tops off, tops on.
Well, I'm
still
still rubbed the wrong way a little bit. There's podcast now. It's called the Dad Bod Podcast. If that's a dad bod, we have got a problem.
And actually, I really liked your post this morning on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because it's completely true. Myself and Jen had a discussion that we wouldn't mind if you're on the front of any fitness magazine with that bod. And I think, you talked at the start about how when you were doing rugby, it was all about, how fit you are, how strong you are. But I think that the fitness industry has leaked into the performance industry. And I deal with so many young guys who have a 6-pack, but they have no energy to perform. And they're wondering why they can't run up and down the pitch, why they can't recover from sessions. And I'm like, because you eat like a bodybuilder. You eat chicken and broccoli all the time. You have no carbs. So, there's so many things wrong. And the question is, where do we start? Where do we start to put them right?
There are so many. So Matt, I've never actually spoken about this before. Do you remember playing The Sims when you were younger? And then there'd be positive or negative interactions where there'd be a plus or a minus. In the pursuit of this 6-pack physique, I can imagine so many little minuses. Going past a sandwich shop, I can't eat that. Being hungry somewhere, I can't have that. Having to drink water or opt for a packet of chewing gum instead of feeding yourself. And this has to play into mental health, and having a six pack or being in shape doesn't give you any protection from taking your own life. I mean, if we look at, people seem to think they'll be so happy when they have a six pack, but they don't realize how many different bouts and instances of happiness they have to give up to get it. So if anything, your body's in a better position if you wanted to be on men's health, but your body's not actually in a better position. Your mental health, you think would be in a better position, but you're actually putting it into a worse position. And unfortunately, I often talk about physique and comp preps and stepping on stage, and there aren't many sports where people grow out of it and go, I can't believe I was so stupid. But everyone does that in physique. I've played rugby for 15 years. I don't sit here now and go, that was stupid. That was bad for my health. I shouldn't have done that. I sit there and go, it was great. But people with physique, they do that. And a lot of these models that do end up, and this isn't a personal attack on them, and I saw a few of them get triggered on the comments for that this morning. They were like, oh, but James, not all of us eat clenbuterol. I was like, no, but if I was to audit your life, I could see a lot of over restrictions and probably negative signs, sim signs. I feel that people have just got it all wrong. And I mean, the quality of life should be the main thing, and performance. And, I finished a workout yesterday. I trained jiu-jitsu. I was like, I fancy a chicken and bacon baguette, and no one's going to stop me having that. And although it was suboptimal post-exercise recovery nutrition, I didn't hit my protein target, it made me happy. It made me feel good about myself, made me feel good about my training. And I think that a lot of us use the wrong metrics on social media. That's why people don't use Facebook. A lot of us use the wrong metrics in life, and it's why we've got a lot of people in good shape, but a lot of people depressed and unhappy.
So it is true that obviously, as you have just said, and you say many times on social, the dangers of the bodybuilding industry, and I suppose the image that they're trying to portray and what they want people, I suppose, to think is easy to achieve. But what about the other spectrum then? What about all of the people who are overweight, not just overweight, but obese? And it's how are we going to deal with that, particularly when the people who are on the front line, such as PTs, have no education around food?
So we can, first of all, I agree with the personal trainer bit, the education bit, that's bad. And not only that, because personal trainers don't know how to run a good business or a profitable business, or they're not business minded, there's an extreme churn rate in our industry. And I don't care about churn rates. There are churn rates in recruitment industries because people join it and they realize they hate it. But having a churn rate in the fitness industry means that we have very inexperienced coaches making up the large part of the marketplace. But one of my main concerns, so for listeners, we have a table in front of us, and I'm going to use it as like a bit of an analogy. We have the length of the table. On the far left, we have obese people. And down the spectrum, we have people getting leaner. And at the other end, we have the fitness bodybuilder people, the fitness people. Every single person that's been asked to go on the front cover of a magazine, or someone that's built a following through just aesthetics. Now, for some reason, we are not logically thinking about where we stop on this spectrum. So when the obese look for a goal, they look where everyone's looking for a goal, which is at the other end, the extreme end. So when an obese person sticks their head into that life, which they can do for a personal training session, where they get told about chicken and broccoli, fasted cardio, food restriction, even a macronutrient target, and this is something that I stand for, people that need to lose weight, especially obese, need a calorie target. If they wish to complement that, they need a protein target, and that is it. Why people are being given a fat amount and a carbohydrate amount for the obese is just absolutely stupid. So is it any wonder that when the obese peak down the spectrum and look into the very extreme of fitness, that it doesn't appeal to them? Now, my issue is that, number one, normal people need to stop setting that as a goal. Because it's not obtainable, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy. And unless you're going to give up your job that pays for your mortgage and your kids' education, all of those things, unless you're going to give that up to try and make a living from a six-pack, don't set your sights there. Because even the majority of my friends that are down there don't earn good money. And you only hear about the ones that do earn good money. We've got people scraping together to make ends meet, living a social media life that's a facade. They don't live that actual life. They are skint, they're broke, they're unhappy, they're hungry. And the main reason they're hungry is through fear of no one else taking them on. And I'm not going to talk about the big gym clothing company that has a lot of athletes by name, but some of my friends are actually portraying anxiety over the amount they eat. And I've been for food with them, and they're like, I went to the event, I feel insignificant, I feel like I'm not going to fit in if I'm at a high body fat percentage. They're like, I've been hungry for months. And they're like, but I can't because I've got this event, I've got this event, I've got this event. And you forget that people aren't buying into them for how they look, they're buying into them for their knowledge and what they can do and their coaching ability. And I'm sat there, I'm like, you've really become far removed from what you're about. Not to mention the amounts of eating disorders and disordered eating that sit within that far end of the spectrum. If you look up on dictionary definition of disordered eating, you describe the fitness industry, food guilt, food anxiety, over restriction, fasting, purging. It's absolutely messed up. So, to get back to the point about the obesity, people need to set their goalposts and their sights short of this. We need to create a new boundary and a new epitomization of where ideal fitness and composition is. And that's what I feel like I'm trying to do. And it's what I was doing with that post this morning, saying, rather than an obese person looking at a six pack, how about bringing an obese person to a composition where they may want to run, where they may want to go to the gym, where they may feel comfortable putting a pair of stupid Speedos on, which again is something that I'm big about. And a lot of my male clients all wear Speedos now because they realize that this isn't a competition to see how lean you are. But if you can lose enough fat to put on a pair of Speedos, you've accomplished a lot more than the disordered eating people that got a six pack. Because there's a lot to do with people's personality traits. And I'm very, very sure that the people at the fitness spectrum are incredibly insecure. A lot of my clientele that started off obese might not be so insecure when they lose their weight to go to that extreme. So we need to start saying that there's this middle ground. Again, it's why I'm so happy that there's this big strength training movement that's occurring with women, especially with glute training and hypertrophy. And I can imagine from a supplemental standpoint, I bet women are now consuming more whey protein than they've ever done before. Because before it was about restricting calories, now women are actually seeking hypertrophy, progressive overload. And there's a big movement that makes me very excited. I feel like a woman can now go into the gym, even 5-10 kilograms over what her peak condition would be. She can wear some high-waisted leggings, do some massive barbell hip thrusts and some accessory works and feel like she's really progressing as an athlete rather than being objectified as seeing how skinny someone can get without losing the menstrual cycle. So for a start, that has to be done. That's a prerequisite, and that's something that needs to occur before we even start really working with the obese, because they need a goal, they need somewhere to go. And I quite like the fact that maybe someone who's 40 kilograms overweight, 50 kilograms overweight as a male might go, I want James's life, but I don't want the life of the people down there. How does James do his? Well, he manages his food intake, but not too much. He exercises whenever he feels like, not too much. He picks the sport he enjoys, which for me is jiu-jitsu now. I barely touch a weight these days, but that's what makes me happy. If my client wants to walk, that's fine. I'm not going to say, oh, Dave, your progressive overload's not been enough this week or anything like that. So I think that we need a basic foundation of business-mindedness for coaches, better qualifications for them to actually understand what it is. I'd love to see how many people come out the training room, sit them down. Hey, mate, how do I lose fat? And for the obese, when we approach them, we need to let them know there's a life out there for them that has a lot of balance. They don't give up the things they love, and it is sustainable. And unfortunately, there's just so much bullshit out there in media, what's portrayed, what's epitomized, what's put at the top of the pyramid of things to aspire for. And it kind of just makes me a bit sick. But the reason that I feel so strongly about this is because I once aspired to be down there. That was all I wanted to do in my life. When I was 24, in a bid to stay relevant with the fitness industry, I took anabolic steroids. And I realized soon after probably 2-3 years of weightlifting, I was like, I'm not looking like the people that I want to look like. And then I realized how prevalent it was. And we talk about mental health and we talk about the state of someone's mind. For me to inject my glutes with testosterone whilst taking clenbuterol, which gives you cramp in your hand, I'm laying on my bed and I've not got very good flexibility. To inject something in your bum, which you know is going to be detrimental to your health, whilst your hand is cramping, whilst you're taking something that's detrimental for your heart health, in a bid to remain relevant with the people that you look up to, is not a good space to be in. And now, I kind of wish that someone had reached out to me 5-6 years ago and told me that, hey mate, you don't need to do this. You can accomplish great things in life without being on steroids. You can accomplish great things in life. You can run a very profitable business and influence people's lives a lot better without having to resort to that.
I know, but it's just so interesting that people it's nearly like a cult. They start to lose weight, they get a little bit addicted, they get addicted to the exercise, addicted to the buzz, and then at some point they get influenced massively by the people who are down at this side of the table, because they just want more and more and more. And they want to get either, skinnier or bigger, to fit in with that group of people. But I do think that, this new kind of revolution of a more strong woman rather than a skinny woman is changing the landscape. When I go to the gym now and I see young girls who have the high leggings and they have, the little tops on, but they do have a little bit of fat that's, coming out over the leggings, and it's like, this is good, It's not all about abs either. But it's going to take a long time to change.
It is, and I've said to women, and something I spoke about in my TED talk was, we can either battle physiology or we can battle society. And we think that battling a society is hard, but pushing back against physiology is going to be much harder. We've got, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution that are going to prevent women from staying too lean. Because if they are, they can't get pregnant because their body will deem they won't survive pregnancy. So, when we're pushing back against things, again, I don't feel that we're taking sexual attraction into the conversation enough as well. Men do not like gaunt women. And someone commented on the thread earlier. He goes, well, it's women's fault for making us feel like men that we need to be lean. I go, it's not. It's other men that make us feel like we need to be lean.
And ultimately, it's yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, us blaming each other, we blame each other, the sexes blame each other for a lot as it is. We definitely can't blame each other for, trying to impose body images on each other. And I know for one, I probably look at women's bodies more than I look at men's bodies.
So this is what I was saying. I was like, look, you actually poison your own mind by looking at other men and comparing yourself. So me as a man, it was never a woman that made me go on steroids. It was other men that made me go on steroids. No woman said to me to be leaner. It was looking at other men that made me want to feel leaner. I think women do the same.
Yeah.
They look at other women. You look at women. If you're a mum postnatally and you make it onto women's health, you're probably 1 in 1,000 statistic of someone that bounces back from pregnancy to your original physique. How does that make other mums feel when they bounce back? So it's not men saying to their wives, oh, you look awful after you've had a baby. It's women saying to themselves, I look awful after a baby. So you've got all these kind of issues that go on with that. And I don't think there's like any blame between genders. But when I make weight for a jiu-jitsu competition, I lose about 3-4 kilograms. That's purely because I don't want to go up against guys that are bigger than me. That's it. And when you look at statistics, people that cut weight for fights, they often do better. So it's not even like an appearance thing. And when I do cut my calories, people are like, oh, James, you said that you're life balance. I was like, look, mate, I don't want to go up against someone who's 10 kilograms heavier than me. It's going to throw me around like a rag doll. So when I cut weight, I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I look good. But then girls say to me, they're like, I preferred you before. And it's so strange to hear, actually, you're not right with your own perceptions about yourself. Humans are incredibly self-critical, and I think that they're always massive pessimists in the way they portray themselves. But when we look at sexual attraction, men think that being lean and having this stupid shoulder-to-waist ratio is what it is about, but they're actually just trying to impress other men. And I often think that women are actually spending a lot of time trying to impress other women, rather than getting down to basics of actually what people want. And I said that 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, a manly man would, and this isn't me being like a sexist, but, or, I'm not sure what the word is for misogyny towards men, but you're a manly man, you have a hairy chest, you provide for the family, you go out during the day, you don't let anyone, look at your wife's bum without going, oi, mate, what are you looking at? You know what I mean? There are all these things. Now suddenly you got to wax your legs, shave your chest, have an impeccable beard, and squat 3 times your body weight, or you're not a man. And I've never seen something move so quick. But I don't think women have actually changed across the board. Only these extreme group down the end, oh, I don't like a man with chest hair or whatever it is. But the majority of people remaining in society never adhered to those extreme kind of conditions for sexual attraction, and it skewed everything. Now, again, this whole dad bod thing, why can't a man who has a profession that he's brilliant at, let's say you've got a salesman who makes 10 times what an average person does with his salary. He works all day. He's in a moderate stress environment, but he's entertaining clients to provide for his family. He's not going to be able to hit 8 gym sessions a week, his progressive overload and his undulating periodization. Why can't he be sexually attractive to a plethora of women? And I feel so strongly about this thing that men now feel like that salesman who's accomplishing amazing things in life will go home and feel inadequate based on the wrong metrics and values for some reason. When did this start to occur?
I know, but it is also important that people are, okay, so, you have the salesman who's really successful, but it is also important that he minds his health.
So yeah, what I say with this is, let's say he's active, he trains in the gym, he's not always seeking progressive overload, he goes for a run at weekends. And when I say dad bod, I'm talking about someone that isn't, massively overweight. I'm just saying he's not lean.
Yeah, he's not ripped.
Yeah, he's not ripped. And, he's someone that's active, but doesn't become obsessed about it. He eats well, he does this, but his life just doesn't allow for him to be in optimal shape. again, someone that's not
But
considered
what is
it.
optimal shape? Like maybe that is optimal shape for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if he gets exposed to the spectrum down there, he's not going to think it is. The same way that if you earn a good salary, but all your friends are rich, you're not going to feel like you earn a good salary. Everything is contextual and subjective to our environments, but we are exposing ourselves to these very extreme environments. And I'm sure that if your Instagram feed is full of Rolexes, Bentleys, and private jets, suddenly your fantastic life where you can afford your mortgage each week, go to the cinema with your friends and have a Nando's with, you know, your partner, suddenly doesn't seem so good. So is it any wonder? I mean, if I was to do an experiment where I just subjected people to people that are much wealthier and successful than them, what would that do to someone's mental health or self-esteem? Now you look at the fitness industry and what it's doing to normal trainees. And do you know how many times I've had to have a conversation with someone where I go, your work's more important than your physique right now? They go, what do you mean? I was like, well, your work pays for all the things that makes your life run. Your physique is almost like your hobby. And they're like, oh, James, what about when I'm traveling with work? I'm like, well, you're traveling with work. If you don't travel with work, you'll be out of work. And if you think it's hard to sustain a six-pack, try doing it when you can't sustain a family or whatever it is. So there's always this reputation. I think that rather than looking at the table as the spectrum at the end, why can't we have a happy middle ground where we say to everyone at the fitness extreme, dial it back a bit, mate, because you're actually really messing up people's perceptions, self-esteem, ego, whatever. Bring them into this middle ground. It's not a set amount. It's a, subjective kind of bubble. Then we look toward the obese, and instead of saying come down to the end of the spectrum, we're like, just come into this area that we've made. And guess what? This isn't a fixed amount. This is a period where, you could have a flat stomach and still be in the sensible place. But on the alternative, you might carry 3 kilograms over the top. And when people come off diet breaks, especially fitness athletes, obsessives, narcissistics, whatever,
Your favorite people.
yeah, mood improvements, sex drive improvements, performance improvements, recovery improvements. How is this such a fucking hard sell to people? Why is this so hard to get to people? When people do a reverse diet, they say, oh, you're going to gain a couple kg, and people lose it. But you're going to sleep better. You're going to have more sex. You're going to eat more of the foods you love. And for some reason, this has become a hard sell to people. I don't get it.
I know. But I think we need to educate people that you're not going to be one weight all of your life. You're not going to be one body shape all of your life. You're going to alternate depending on what's going on in your life, what age you are, what training you're doing, and that's okay. I remember when first of all, when I came back from Sydney, I was like 3 stone overweight.
The Sydney stone.
Yeah, Sydney couple of stones. But that was when I was 23, long time ago. And what I did to get back into shape was basically starve myself and do a lot of training. When I had a baby, like I remember looking down like a month after having a baby and looking at this. I did think like naively that once you had the baby, you're back in your skinny jeans. That was it, 3 weeks. And I hear this all the time from new mums, and maybe if you have a baby when you're 25. But the majority of people don't really have babies at 25 anymore. When you're having a baby at 37, it's a little bit more difficult. But the pressure I put on myself to lose the weight was ridiculous. I mean, I was like going to the gym, and I'd come home from the gym and my husband would be outside the door with my baby saying, it needs to be fed. Come on, hurry on. What are you doing? You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. And I got really skinny. And I do think it was because I was breastfeeding as well. And my husband said, I don't like you this skinny. Same thing, So I'm on that journey again now, and I don't think I'll be...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't think... I know now. Like, it's just ridiculous. But I'm one of the educated ones. And I still put myself under that pressure. So it is difficult.
It's what you're exposed to as well, like I say with that. And here's a funny one where obviously there's a certain audience that I drill out my message to. And recently I saw someone who I know who I'd consider a friend almost attack my message a bit. And she just had a baby. So I actually messaged her partner at the time and was like, am I under fire here? I was like, I don't know whether to retaliate. I don't know if I've misconstrued this. Anyway, I saw her in the gym and I got chatting to her. She goes, I've tried counting my calories. I've tried the calorie deficit. It just doesn't work. And I had to say to her, I was like, you've just had a kid. She was like, yeah. I was like, how much are you sleeping a night? She was like, a couple hours if I'm lucky. I go, then why are you dieting? She was like, excuse me? I go, why are you dieting at all? She was like, well, I want to lose. I was like, no, you're sleep deprived. You're tired. You're looking after a 1-year-old. None of your life has any structure, let alone hormonal, physiological, postpartum complications that you'll be facing. And she was like, well, what do you recommend? I was like, well, don't diet. And she was like, well, and for a lot of women, they've been drilled into them their whole lives, they should be dieting of some kind. I was like, no, if you've just had a kid, you have much more important things on the line than your physique. And that's a hard thing to communicate. But then again, the only person that you should really be critical of would be your partner. And if they're not going to support you postnatally, then maybe you need to have really hard considerations about whether or not this is the right partner. And
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
okay.
But imagine if you've just had a baby,
I get it, yeah.
you're breastfeeding 6 months in, and all you're hearing is your partner go, oh, come on, let's get you in shape, let's get you in
Yeah,
shape,
I
let's
know.
get. You don't want to bring up a kid around.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's
Yeah,
harsh.
yeah.
And so yeah, and I think that, you know, I was like, don't try and shit on my message because you're at a time in your life where
But
you shouldn't
she's
be
putting
dieting.
pressure on herself.
Yeah, and then
realistically.
she's
Yeah.
blaming me, and I was like, no, because my message isn't calorie deficits if you just had a baby. That's not it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So just to bring us back to, I suppose, the whole nutrition education, obviously you have been a huge success, not just because of the way you train people, but also because you're educating them around the right messages. And you are calling out people in the industry who are not basically educating people or giving people the full picture. And you are you come out of Martin McDonald's stables of MNU. How much did that experience of being educated by Martin, how much did that change how you saw the whole nutrition world?
So my first contact with Martin was before he had social media, and I at the time I had about 10,000 followers on Facebook, maybe like 2,000 on Insta, and I messaged him and I was like, "Hey mate, I've just listened to one of your podcasts, and I can't believe that you've changed my standpoint on something so much. I was trying to drum the unimportance of breakfast into people so harsh that I became anti-breakfast." And he called that out on one of the podcasts he did. And I go, I have become anti-breakfast. I've allowed my message to become too extreme to the point that I've lost faith in my own beliefs. And I was like, oh my God. So when I was challenged by Martin in that sense, I was like, that's amazing. Then at the time I was studying under another educator, and someone said to me, a uni mate, he was like, you need to study under Martin. I was like, yeah, I've done his podcast. So joined MNU, got into it, and yeah, there were a lot of things that backed up my own beliefs, but then there was connecting a lot of dots. And even to this day, when I finish the module, I'll sit through a 1 hour module, but if there's 5 minutes of it that I learn something new, it makes your whole understanding. Because it's almost like through your time in learning, you're learning like a language, but through the most of fitness, you're only learning little words here and there. Doing a course like that and listening to podcasts on certain specialist topics starts allowing you to construct sentences. So
Yeah, put the picture together.
yeah, but the good thing about the course is that Martin doesn't get sidetracked into what a lot of other fitness professionals do of overcomplicating things. I still don't fully understand, or I couldn't draw out to you the Krebs cycle or mitochondria, but then Martin understands that as well. He's like, this is what you need to know, this is what you're going to use with clients. I'm pretty sure that Martin studied a PhD and he doesn't use any of that with us in MNU. He's like, you don't need this. He's almost like, I wasted my time at uni, so you don't have to. And yeah, it's an imperative thing to do, but also I think that personal trainers should realize that not knowing something is a brilliant thing, and you can say that to your client. You're being paid a good amount of money, even if you're on £30 an hour. But if your client asks you something, you've got the perfect opportunity to tell them you don't know, the perfect opportunity to find out, and the perfect opportunity to come back. And rather than pretending you're this perfect beacon of light, the main one for me was when I got asked about the menstrual cycle. How does this impact my performance in training? I was there with a client. I was like, I don't know. But I was like, I'll find out. And then I made it my mission over the next few months to discover more about it and end up going down this massive rabbit hole. And then came out the other end as the period guy. And,
I didn't hear that one. I haven't heard that one before.
my TED talk was on menstruation and PCOS and how it affects training performance.
Cool.
And I don't pretend to be an endocrinologist or a female fertility expert. I'm just portraying the information that I've learned whilst trying to pursue things I didn't know. And if I tried to be all macho and be like, oh, yeah, I know all that, you don't need to worry about it or something like that, it would have done me a disservice, but also my client. So, is there any harm in a personal trainer having a notes section on their phone of things they don't know? And when their client challenges them, they go, look, I don't know that. I'm going to put that on my list right now on my phone. I'm going to find out when I next see you.
Which is great. Like, you have definitely come from one spectrum and moved to another spectrum to be giving a TED talk on, like, PCOS and menses.
Yeah.
Because the majority of PTs, I suppose, and I think this is UK and Ireland, they struggle with the basics,
Big time.
And I think it is irresponsible of a lot of PT courses that their nutrition education is out of date. There's still a lot of myths. They still talk about a lot about insulin. They talk about, revving up your metabolism and all this.
Government guidelines.
Exactly. And I do think, we're one small part of this huge jigsaw that is trying to change and educate a little bit more. But I think it does have to start with the people who are seen as the most knowledgeable people in the industry. And that's who people who, everyday mums and dads, guys and girls are looking for information to. So I do think everyone, and we all need it. I have PT, I have a PhD, I just did MNU. Everyone needs CPD all the time. And it's, as you said, it's okay to not know. It's once you think you know everything, that's the trouble,
It's also good to keep an eye to things like, even this week, Lane Norton has released that he now openly admits to taking branched-chain amino acids, but he only takes them for what he feels eases his DOMs. And then he cited some research. So then I've got to be quite pragmatic and open my mind and think, if he said this, someone that I think is a fantastic influencer in that realm, then I'm going to actually have to dig deeper. I'm going to then have to talk to Ben Carpenter. I'm going to have to talk to Martin. I'm going to have to talk to Sohee Lee, Brett Contreras. And then, I'm going to go there with the standpoint of saying, hey guys, I've been challenged. I feel that I'm wrong or potentially not 100% accurate on something. If it comes to the conclusion that I am, I'll come out with that. And I think that by now I've built a following where if I was to say that, they'd be like, fair play. They're not going to go, that's it, I'm unfollowing you, I want a refund.
Yeah.
Because everything that I'd found up until a certain point said one thing. We can't be correct, but, things will change, but we have to be open to that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Final question or final topic that I want to discuss. You have really made a name for yourself for calling out people who are giving people the wrong information. But you've been on some podcasts where the podcast interviewer has been talking some BS, but you haven't called them out. So you're just calling out on Instagram, or are you calling out in person?
Who was this?
So it was an Irish fitness podcast.
Oh, okay. I think I was being polite at the time.
Oh, okay. Because you rant about keto, and this person was enjoying a rant with you, but kind of overtaking the rant and taking keto into performance, which is one of my pet peeves, because you can't do keto and be performance.
Yeah, there's. I know exactly what camp he'd come out of. I know exactly which people would have taught him this. I know exactly the researchers that were looking into ultra endurance sport performance in a ketogenic state. And they were like, well, if your glycogen can't be depleted, then you're going to be fat adapted. I knew exactly where he's coming from. But in that, I was like, I'm almost in someone else's house. I was like,
I know. You're being polite, James.
And I didn't want to contradict him in front of it, so I kind of just let it go. It's like, yeah. So there's a time and a place for it. And the thing is with Instagram as well, like, let's think about, I wouldn't want to do it on someone else's podcast out of generally politeness, or he could then just stop and be like, I'm not posting that, it's not going on. What a waste of my time. But I said this before, I've had pops at Joe Wicks before, more so towards his ethics, morals, than more so what he's saying, because I've been wrong about things before. But you get to that point and you don't make mistakes at that level. But I said to people, if people love him on Instagram, they're going to stay loving him. If they love me, they're going to stay loving me. Beefing rappers, when two rappers go head to head, not one of them's like, I'm burning your album. Both sides remain strong, and anyone that sat on the fence will fall off to either side. That's why I like online debates and calling out people, because ultimately you only can convert people that aren't sure, and people are going to remain in a stronger position on the other side of that. So, although some of the call outs can be a little bit heavy, I feel like it's a good place to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd still call people out in their own podcast.
Then it wouldn't go up. I'd miss out on the cross-pollination.
Finally, you have a book coming out. Why should I buy it? What's different?
From the years of being a personal trainer on the floor, thousands of hours of clients, there are a lot of discussions outside of calories, macros, nutrition, frequency, tempo, all of these things, which are gym-based knowledge situations. And even in my academy, it is primarily training side, nutrition side, some diet psychology and eating habits, but there are other essential components to our life to do with our work life, professional life, sleep, sex, relationships. There are dispelling a lot of fallacies where I need to be able to do it in a context that people can refer back to. There's the elements of people's lives that are really important, like sleep, and I want to actually bring science into it. So I've actually referenced a lot of literature in the book so that when someone puts down a chapter or closes the book, they're like, I'm paying more attention to my sleep. They close another chapter, they're going to go, I'm going to quit my job. There's another chapter where someone's going to break up with their partner they don't want to be with. And even something as simple as giving people the understanding that they could be making an irrational decision based on how long they've already invested into it, which is not a PT discussion.
So it's more of a lifestyle book then?
It's not. That's why it's called Not a Diet Book. The amount of my clients that have gone, oh, but I've been with him 3 years. I'm like, that's not a reason to stay with him. I need to challenge people, because if people think that giving up cigarettes on the first day of the year is the easiest day to do it, imagine quitting your job, getting rid of a partner that you don't love and that you don't sleep with, and at the same time bolstering people's knowledge so that anyone could walk around the gym floor. And when a personal trainer says to them, oh, you need to do this, they go, no, I don't. You need to do this, no, I don't. Well, this is good for you. No, it's not. And it's to make people absolutely bulletproof from all of the bullshit that is imposed on them, so that any male or female can walk the whole way across the gym and they can only pick, they will know who's a decent trainer and who's not, because they would have made it the whole way through the pitch without saying something they'll go against. So that's why it's not a diet book. It's not got any exercises in it. It's not got any recipes in it. It's a pure lifestyle book. So when they close it, they've almost got this like armor on them and confidence when they go into the gym and understand some things.
Sounds good. I'm intrigued.
I'll give you a link in a minute to pre-order.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll let you know where to send my free copy. James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come join us on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.